What if one look, just one glance caught by a moving camera, was enough to make fans question everything they thought they knew about last night's BTS Live? Because that's exactly what happened. In a live that was supposed to feel warm, united, and nostalgic, something subtle but powerful slipped through the cracks. Something that fans didn't expect, but once seen, couldn't be unseen. Last night's full-member BTS Live was meant to be a celebration. All 7 members together, laughing, talking, sharing energy that fans around the world have missed deeply. The atmosphere at first felt relaxed. Smiles came easily, jokes flowed, and the chemistry between the members was undeniable. But as the live went on, many fans noticed a small detail that quietly changed the mood for a certain part of the audience. Jimin was seated right next to V. At first, it looked completely normal. Jimin and V have known each other for years. They're close, comfortable, and naturally affectionate in their own way. They leaned slightly toward each other, shared brief smiles, and exchanged words that the microphone didn't always catch. To casual viewers, it was simply 2 friends sitting side by side. Nothing unusual. But fans who are watching closely, especially those familiar with every micro-expression and body movement, began to notice something else. V's eyes lingered on Jimin longer than expected. When Jimin laughed, V's gaze followed. When Jimin shifted his posture, V adjusted too. There was warmth there, yes, but also something heavier, something tense. And then the camera caught it. In a brief moment that replay accounts would later loop again and again, V looked at Jimin with an expression that didn't quite match the cheerful setting. It wasn't anger, it wasn't sadness, it was closer to jealousy. A look filled with quiet tension, mixed with something that fans quickly labeled as envy. What made that look even more intense was who Jimin was reacting to just seconds later: Jungkook. Even though Jimin wasn't sitting directly next to Jungkook, his attention drifted toward him naturally. A smile here, a glance there, the kind of instinctive reaction that feels unplanned and honest. And every time Jimin's eyes moved toward Jungkook, V seemed to notice. The camera didn't miss it either. There were moments when V subtly leaned closer to Jimin, almost as if trying to reclaim his attention. At one point, when Jimin slightly turned his body in Jungkook's direction, V shifted too, closing the space between himself and Jimin. It wasn't obvious enough to call out immediately, but clear enough that fans who know BTS dynamics felt something was off. Then came the moment that really set social media on fire. As Jungkook spoke, Jimin reacted with a soft smile, nodding along in that familiar way fans know so well. Right after that, V reached out, not dramatically, not aggressively, but just enough to draw Jimin's focus back toward him. A light touch, a small movement, but the timing felt deliberate. Fans began to ask questions. Why now? Why that moment? Why did V look away so quickly afterward? As the live continued, V's behavior subtly shifted. He was still friendly, still smiling, but there were moments where he seemed restless. He adjusted his position often, he glanced between Jimin and Jungkook repeatedly, and then, unexpectedly, there were times when V appeared to put physical space between Jimin and Jungkook whenever the seating arrangement or camera angle allowed it. Nothing overt, nothing that could be called disrespectful, but enough to spark conversation. For Jungkook fans in the US, this live didn't feel random. It felt layered. Jimin himself seemed unaware of the tension fans were picking up on. He remained open, relaxed, and expressive. His reactions to Jungkook were natural, almost automatic. A shared laugh, a smoffed expression, the kind of comfort that doesn't need effort. And that's what made V's reactions stand out even more. There were moments when V's smile didn't quite reach his eyes, moments when his laughter came a beat too late, moments when he watched Jimin interact with Jungkook with an intensity that felt out of place for such a light-hearted setting. Fans replayed the footage frame by frame. Some pointed out how V's jaw tightened briefly when Jimin leaned forward toward Jungkook. Others noticed how V crossed his arms shortly after one of Jimin's longer glances in Jungkook's direction. There were even clips where V seemed to reposition himself slightly, blocking the camera's view between Jimin and Jungkook. Was it coincidence? Was it overanalysis? Or was there something real unfolding in real time? What makes this live especially fascinating is that nothing was said out loud. No words were exchanged that hinted at conflict, no jokes about jealousy, no awkward silence. Everything happened in expressions, posture, timing, and energy. And sometimes that's where the truth hides. Jungkook fans are used to reading between the lines. Years of watching interactions, behind-the-scenes moments, and unspoken dynamics have trained them to notice when something shifts. And during this live, something definitely shifted. The contrast between Jimin's ease around Jungkook and V's growing tension didn't go unnoticed. In fact, many fans felt that V's attempts to redirect Jimin's attention only made Jimin's natural pull toward Jungkook more obvious. There was one moment near the middle of the live where all three were visible in frame. Jungkook said something funny, Jimin laughed immediately, eyes lighting up. V looked at Jimin first, not Jungkook, and for a split second, the emotion on V's face looked raw, like he had just realized something he couldn't control. Seconds later, V leaned back, creating distance. That distance spoke louder than words. Some fans interpreted it as V recognizing the situation and choosing to step away. Others believed it was frustration, a silent acknowledgement that no matter how close he sat to Jimin, Jimin's attention would always find Jungkook. As the live continued, the energy stabilized, but that earlier tension lingered in the minds of viewers. Clips spread fast, slow-motion edits appeared within hours, comments flooded timelines, especially among US-based Jungkook fans who were watching live or catching up immediately afterward. This didn't feel accidental. V saw it. Jimin didn't even realize how obvious it was. The body language says everything. What makes this moment so compelling isn't drama. It's realism. People don't always hide their emotions perfectly, especially in long live broadcasts where guards drop and reactions become instinctive. And last night, instincts were on full display. The live may have ended with smiles and group unity, but the images left behind continue to fuel discussion. Every glance, every shift in posture, every subtle attempt to control space is now part of a larger narrative fans are still piecing together. And as fans continue to rewatch, analyze, and debate, one thing remains clear. Last night's BTS Live was more than just a reunion. It was a moment where emotions slipped through the cracks and cameras caught something deeply human. And this is where everything quietly comes together. Because when fans step back and look at the full picture, the live doesn't feel chaotic or confusing anymore. It feels revealing. What happened wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, it didn't need words. It was a collection of small moments that lined up too perfectly to ignore. Jimin's natural pull toward Jungkook, Jungkook's calm presence, and V's reactions that felt human, unfiltered, and emotionally exposed. For many Jungkook fans, the biggest takeaway isn't about blame or rivalry, it's about truth. Emotions don't always follow rules, and they don't always wait for the camera to turn off. Last night showed that even in a joyful group setting, feelings can surface in unexpected ways. And when they do, they show up in the eyes first, then the body, then the space people tried to control around them. Jimin never changed who he was. He stayed soft, open, and instinctively connected to Jungkook. That consistency is what made everything else stand out. The more natural Jimin appeared, the more obvious the contrast became. And for fans who have followed Jungkook's dynamic for years, that contrast spoke volumes. This live reminded fans why body language matters, why silence can be louder than words, and why moments like these stay in people's minds long after the stream ends. It wasn't scripted, it wasn't planned, it was real, and that's exactly why it hit so hard. Now the question isn't what fans saw, the question is how you interpret it. Did you feel the tension? Did you notice the timing? Did you catch the moments before the camera moved away? If you did, you're not alone. If this analysis resonated with you, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more deep dives into BTS moments you might have missed, and share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think was really going on last night? Let's talk about it together.